Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Riley Rose Frazee and welcome back to Blind Insight Vlogs. You'll probably notice that we're kind of echoey, but that's because we are at my guide dog Kent's favorite stomping ground. He loved coming to the Piqua Mall. So I decided today to do a little tribute to him because he was the very first guide dog I ever had. He was a little black lab born November 29th, and he was the sweetest dog ever. He was just a tiny little dude. He was below my kneecaps. Just this tiny little guy. I mean, but strong as a bull moose. I'm telling you, that dog was strong. So today I'm going to tell you a few stories about him. One of them was you could never tell that dog the word mall. If you did, we had to come here every time. He loved coming here to walk. And he would always go over to Great American Cookie Company. That was the first one. And we'd always go there every time. Never failed. We could take him through different doors of stores, just different entrances to the mall. And he would always take me to Great American Cookie Company first try. He knew where he was going. And we would go to this pizza place that's no longer here, unfortunately. This mall's pretty much almost dead. But he basically would take me there to get pizza, and I'd have my little pretzel bites, which are so good. And sorry, Jesse, I know you're watching this, but had those, had pizza. We'd go get ice cream for dessert too. I mean, he'd take me to the ice cream place that's over there, and those are three of the places that we'd go eat. Well, then we'd walk to Bath and Body Works because the ladies always had to see him work, so I would take him in there. We'd find something. I'd always get something. And he would even get a little spritz of men's body stuff on because that dog loved to be spritzed with stuff. He liked to smell good, so even if I had already given him a bath, he had to smell nice. So he's like, hey, you always smell good, so why can't I? He would look up at me like, okay, I'm ready. So we'd spritz him with some of the men's fragrances, just a tiny bit of it. It was just a little something that they had that we took a little bitty thing and just went like this across his neck with it. We didn't actually spray him with it, but we just brushed him with a card, so he had it on him. But we basically did that, and he loved it. He loved to smell nice. So we had that, and then we'd go to FYE, the music store. We'd always go there, and he'd always take me to Nirvana. That was basically our mall trips every time. And yes, I went there by myself, but the thing is, I never walked alone. I always had these football players from the school here in Piqua. It seemed like every time I was there, a few of them would be in the mall, and they'd walk around the mall with me so people wouldn't mess with me. Leave the dog alone, don't touch the dog, leave the dog alone. I mean, these Piqua boys, they didn't put up with it. They were following me, making sure that nobody messed with my dog, because they didn't want him distracted while I was trying to walk him. But, we always would go and we just walk the place. And then the bus would come back, or my friend would come pick me up, Helen, my good buddy. She'd come and pick me up from the store, from wherever I was at. I'd say, okay, I'm going to be at Penny's, or I'm going to be at Elder Bierman or Sears or whatever. I'd say, okay, I'll be there. Or she'll tell me, go to that store. And he would seem to know what store I was talking about. And it was crazy. I'd be like, okay, go to, especially Stephen Barry's when it was here. He knew that store, and he would know it by, of course, the smell of leather and stuff in the store. And I'd say, go to Stephen Barry's, and he would do it. He knew what I meant, and he would walk me there. We'd just go in, walk to the door. I'd say, find out, and he would find out, and we'd go outside and wait for Helen, and it was just incredible. I mean, we could take him through any store, and he would know all my places every time. That was Kent. I mean, he was an amazing black lab. He really was. There was another time where we were at my apartment and we walked outside first thing in the morning. And you know how a dog is. First thing in the morning, they have to use the bathroom, and they have to go now. Just like that, they have to go. Well, we walked out, and it was pouring down rain all night, and I didn't even know it. And so I was sitting there, and we walk outside and go up to the little alleyway, little driveway thing, going across, and I go to step down. Nope, he pulls me back. No, don't step off. What the heck's wrong with him? Because that's not like him to just stop me from going down. And I didn't know what was going on because, of course, I can't see. So he turns around and walks back up to the apartment. Now, mind you, he's got to go. But he held it, and he walked to the apartment. We walked back up to the apartment. I get my boots on. So now I'm wearing my snow boots, and I walk outside. Now he lets me step down. Next thing I know, there was water about like this on the other side of the alleyway. And I was like, oh my word. It was like 4 to 5 inches of water. I mean, it was huge. It was a lot of water because there was a bunch of leaves blocking the drain, so that they weren't able to get it drained in time when we walked across. So then we went across and splashed around, basically trying to get back through, and the water was shoving us. But he got me back to the apartment door. We walked back in, shut the door, walked back upstairs to my apartment because they let me go out the emergency exit so that it was easier to get across. And so we got up there, and I took him off his leash, hung the leash up, went in and took my boots off because my boots are soaking wet, so I had them sitting on the carpet in the bathroom to dry off. All of a sudden, he barks. And that's not like Kent to bark. So I walk out, and I go to see what he's barking at. And he's got his front paws kind of up, like somehow stood up on his hind legs, put his front 2 paws up, and he put his nose up like this and was looking at the counter. He was looking right at one of my cupboards. I opened the cupboard, you guys, and much to my amazement, there, just inside the cupboard door, was my airborne tablets. And I was like, how the heck did that dog know those were in there? You know, he knew where my airborne was, and he knew that was something that would help me. So he made me get that airborne out. So I took my airborne and didn't end up sick as a dog because it was bad. And then there was another time where I was at one of my places that I used to work, and it had snowed really bad. And we walked out, and the idiot driver had parked the van in the snowbank. And so I don't know how he managed to get the van out, but I got stuck. My legs got stuck in the snowbank. I couldn't get out. My feet were just stuck. So I was like, what the heck? Why am I stuck in this snowbank? You know, why am I stuck? Why did I have to get stuck? Well, Kent stood up on the van steps, put his back paws on the running board, his front paws up on the top floor, and then jerked me out. Well, the bus aide was behind me and almost got kicked because I was jumping onto the running board to try to get my footing, and I leaped onto the running board and managed to get my feet out. At least I didn't lose my boots. But he got me out of the snow dirt. And this little boy was strong. I mean, he was not weak for a dog. He was a strong little dog. And pulled me out of a snowbank. You know, he was so good at helping me things like that. And one of the most memorable things that I ever remembered in my life was he actually saved my life. This guy was interested in me, wanted to date me. And the dog was sitting there, and the guy was sitting beside me on the couch, and he had his arm around my shoulders. And all of a sudden, he gets up, Kent does, comes over, grabs me by my shirt sleeve, yanks me off the couch, growling, like a vicious growl. Like, get away from him, get away from him. Next thing I know, I'm sitting in the chair, and he's watching him. Like, don't you dare touch my mommy again. And so he stayed back. The guy was like, whoa, okay. So he sat there. He was kneeling by my chair, but he was afraid to put his arm around me because he thought Kent was going to bite him, which he probably would have. And the guy was sitting there, and he was watching it. Well, next thing I knew, 2 weeks later, the lady that was my aide, basically, that was helping me go get groceries and things, she called me and she says, Riley, I'm going to be late. And I said, okay. She goes, I've got to go to the hospital with my other person. What happened? She goes, his roommate just beat the hell out of him. I was like, what? Cecil? Which was the guy that wanted me. I was like, no way. He goes, yeah. He beat him up. And I literally wrapped Kent in the biggest hug and just squeezed that dog to death because he saved my life. If he wouldn't have done that, he knew that this guy was violent, and he did not want the guy near me. And so he saved my life. I mean, he was the most special dog. And the sad part is that poor little dog got sick to the point he could not, hold his waist and stuff. He was really sickly, and it's so sad because I don't know what in the world caused it, but he was having a heck of a time going and trying to clean up after him. The smell was enough to make me sick, and unfortunately he had to retire early. And I hated that because he was such a sweetheart. Everybody loved Kent. I would go to the Praise Pavilion, for example, and the staff would bring me ice to put in his water. I took him to other things that he just seemed to enjoy. Like the Phrase is another place you had to spell it or you better be taking him to it. He loved it. And then he loved sitting out on the patio at my old apartment complex, sitting under the table, enjoying it. He loved being outside. He was the one that basically got me to relax a little more and enjoy nature a lot more than I used to, because I used to just take him out, go back in. One day he's like, goes outside and he's like, smell the air, stop, breathe. We don't have to go so fast. He made me realize how important being in the nature was. He was so good at that. He wanted me to know, hey, here's this. Let's do this. And he loved music. Oh my God, that dog loved music. We were walking down Main Street here in Piqua, and I was at the place that I used to work. Again, another work story. I was at work, and that darn dog heard the song Donna by Richie Valens, and he stops, and he don't move. And I'm like, Kent, forward. Kent, forward. He wouldn't move. So I start singing, because he keeps nudging me with his nose. Hey, come on, start going. And so we kept going. And I started singing the song, Donna. And as soon as I started singing, then he started walking. I mean, that dog. Now, of course, he probably didn't understand the lyrics, but he loved the beat, and he knew it was a song I knew. Any song that he seemed to know that I knew, he would do that. He'd stop. Okay, start singing, Mom. And we'd walked all these different places with him, and he didn't really get to enjoy being a typical dog, because they were like, oh, well, the school that I was at the time would not allow him to be a typical dog. Oh, he couldn't run in the snow, even on a leash. He couldn't run in the snow because it would make him vicious. That was what they told us. It's going to make him vicious. How the heck could playing in the snow and rolling in the snow make a dog vicious? They're not doing anything wrong. They're being a dog off a harness. But he wasn't allowed to do that. He wasn't allowed to really play much. And, and then I had people, who they were so frustrated. They were like, well, why do you not let him play? And I was like, it's not that I don't want to, but I don't want to lose him, because then I don't have my independence anymore. So I had to basically follow the rules or lose my independence. It was basically my choice. I either had to follow the rules and keep my independence, or break the rules and lose my independence, because I had other people that would narc me out. Oh, she's not doing right by him. She's breaking the rules. So I couldn't just break the rules and secretly do it, because I had people that wouldn't help me out with it. They would just tell me, oh, you can't do that. You can't break the rules, so we're just going to narc you out, tell the school, and then you'll lose it. So that's how that happened. I mean, I wasn't allowed to let him be a typical dog, which is sad, which is going to be really interesting with this new one that I'm hoping to get, because that one gets to play a little bit and be a dog. So it's going to be really hard to get used to. I mean, kind of, because being a guide dog, I wasn't allowed to do that the first time. So my new one's going to get a lot more leeway than he did. So it's going to be rough. But the other thing was, too, that I'd go in, I'd run in real fast. I went into Subway one day to get a sub real quick, and they're like, get out of here, where's Kent? You're not allowed to come in my restaurant without Kent. They were giving me hell because I didn't have the dog, so I had to go out and get Kent, bring him in. Then I was allowed to order, because everybody wanted to see Kent. They loved to watch that dog work. especially when they had new employees, they'd always give me heck if I did not have that dog with me, because they wanted their new employees to see Kent. And then they said, do you have your ID so I can show them a real service dog so we don't have no fakes coming in here? Yeah. You know, I had restaurants ask me for my ID just so they could train their newest employees on real service dogs versus fakes. And they weren't asking me for my ID because they wanted to refuse me. No, they were trying to train their people. Hey, this is what the real one looks like. This is one ID. This is one of the school's IDs. And they would always ask me, is there others? And I would give them school names for them to maybe get some of the training. They would come over and ask me questions like, hey, what's some of the other schools so we can maybe get one of their IDs so we can train them. You know, I would get that a lot because they didn't want no fakes coming in their restaurants of people using a fake dog. And I'm assuring that they would probably did it with ESAs too, emotional support animals. I bet you they did it with them too. Like ask them, hey, do you have an ID so I can train them? If they did it with me, I'm sure they did it with ESAs too. So, I mean, it was pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, and he was, like I said, he was a good boy. He was an amazing, amazing dog. So that is my story about Kent. And sadly, like I said, he didn't get to retire the right way. So, you know, it's pretty sad. It really is, because he didn't get to be his typical self. So he didn't really get to enjoy life as much as he should have. So hopefully this new one gets to, and you guys will get a lot more videos of that dog than I have of Kent. I don't even have any video of him, so sadly. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys on the next one. And remember, you're blind in sight alone. Don't give up on your hopes and dreams. R.I.P. Kent. See you guys on the next one. Bye guys.